Hi everyone, it's Ren here. Good to see you guys. I hope you're well today. Today we're going to be talking about my next book project, which is set to start at some point during the first half of the year. Could be very soon, could be a little bit later, but in any case, not very much later. And I need to probe your thoughts and opinions a little bit because I care about that and I want to make sure I contribute write a book that resonates with you, that also corresponds to something that you would like and would be expecting, to continue the deepening of the understanding of the INFJ type, which was begun with the first work of Jungian existentialism, the Ecstatic Soul, deepest investigation of the INFJ you'll find online, dense exploration of the INFJ consciousness. It goes deeper than the descriptions you'll find online. So if you're getting diminishing returns from those and you want to actually go deeper and secure a more precise and far-reaching knowledge of the type, which could be your type, or a type that you have an interest in, this is the book to get. Less than $10, ebook, paperback format, available at the links down below in the description box, all the Amazon websites. If there is a website, a country that is not included, and that is your country, just drop me a line and I'll get back to you and we'll sort it out. All right, so Ecstatic Soul initiated this first phase in the Jungian existentialist movement. I recently finished the first manuscript of a book of fiction. I like to write a book of nonfiction, probably focused on personality theory and particularly the INFJ, and then a book of nonfiction, then a book of fiction, then a book of nonfiction. It's the kind of rhythm that suits me. And well, now that I have this manuscript in the works, I'll be able soon, as I'm waiting also to get feedback from a number of friends on the fictional manuscript, I'll start thinking about the new book on the INFJ, which is what I want to talk about here briefly. It's not going to be a long video. I have some ideas, and as you may know, I've been thinking of going in a slightly more practical dimension, echoed in part by some videos I've been releasing recently of a so-called podcast that I call the Practical INFJ, where I discuss practical things. So the book would not be exactly in the spirit. I don't want to repeat exactly the contents of my videos, but it would definitely be of a more practical nature, following from the lessons learned of Jungian existentialism. So if you think of the different aspects of the INFJ consciousness, including alienation, including haziness, including anxiety or anxious prescience, including disembodiment, and the ways in which to cope with these issues, to get to a stage of existential fulfillment through world recovery, through clarity, through vocational prescience, through embodiment. I mean, all these things certainly happen at the level of a change of perspective on the world, but this change of perspective, which I describe in the book in psychological and philosophical terms, is necessarily always embodied. We never think purely conceptually, we're also embodying what we think and our aspirations in modes of action. And the modes of action are important to pin down and clarify from an INFJ perspective in order to make the project go full circle. Also as a way to make concrete and illustrate the practical usefulness of the Ecstatic Soul. So I've been having different ideas. And in fact, recently I had a nice phone conversations with an INFJ YouTuber by the name of Joyce Meng, and I link her channel below. I suspect that many of you are already familiar with her channel, but if you are not familiar, you should check it out. She does a lot of really cool interviews of people from different types and about various typology topics. She's a really good interviewer, and the plan is that I will be on a panel of male INFJs on her channel at some point in the near future. Of course, when the video is due to come out, I will let you guys know because you might have an interest. As far as I understand, the panel should be looking pretty good with pretty cool guests on it, and it's an honor to have been invited. So I was chatting to Joyce, and she was very curious about my current projects, and we ended up discussing the possibility of this new project. And while talking to her, some ideas came to mind. You know how that is sometimes. You have a conversation with someone, and turns out that the very fact of talking about this prospective project gives you new ideas. And basically, I describe more or less what I've been describing to you, my idea of breaking the next book down into different chapters focused on more practical issues. And I'm just thinking about it further, I realized that perhaps I could sort of take an approach divided into rules, and the rules would not necessarily imply that if you don't follow the rule, you're a bad person or a bad INFJ or a failed INFJ or an anxious, existentially self-defeating INFJ, but rules of thumb or directions, tenets, principles, maxims, whatever you want to call it. But the idea that I like about the word rule, admittedly, it's partly for reasons of catchiness, is that I was thinking I could actually title this book, the next book, 12 Rules for INFJs. You obviously will recognize, at least most of you will recognize the resonance with Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. So assuming that there's no copyright issues with you titling my book 12 Rules for INFJs, I think it would be a very catchy title, and it also would present me with a very interesting project, which would be to condense, if you like, the core practical principles for INFJs to follow in keeping with the existential fulfillment aims as developed in the Ecstatic Soul over the 5 or 6 chapters of the Ecstatic Soul, embody them in 12 rules. I mean, that sounds pretty good to me, because the rules by definition would be practical rules. Rules wouldn't be, make sure that you think about the Platonic forms every Sunday morning. It would be something very concrete, So echoing some of the rules in 12 Rules for Life, the book by Peterson. So I think that would be quite catchy from a pure marketing viewpoint, but it would also put me in a certain frame of mind, you see. It would put me in a frame of mind where I have no choice but to concretize my writing, to make it stand as a coherent and successive list of different examples governing different rules for a fulfilled INFJ life. Where I still have some questionings about this is my voice. You need to be a very respected and trustworthy source of INFJ writing to come out with a book like that and be well received and useful to people. I do believe in the soundness of my reasoning and conclusions. I've thought about the INFJ type a lot. I've thought about the health of the INFJ type a lot. But, it matters to me. I care about how the community perceives me. I have the impression that the community has a certain amount of trust in me and respects my work and think it's honest and intellectually honest work especially. So it's probably starting on a good basis, but I just want to ensure that this is really the perspective. And if generally you like this idea, 12 Rules for INFJs, for example, among those of you who are frequently asking me to write something more concrete, something more directly applicable from an INFJ perspective, in keeping with the Ecstatic Soul and Jungian existentialism, but focusing more on the practical side of an INFJ life, I should expect that this kind of book would delight you as a project, but this is what I'm expecting, and I'd like to hear your voice. I'd like to hear what you have to say about the idea. For now, it's a sketch of an idea. It's obviously a roadmap. It's not something that has become actual yet. I haven't started writing. I have some floating thought, but to articulate the thoughts, which I've been adding up since I finished writing the Ecstatic Soul, in fact, even whilst I was writing it, to articulate all those and structure them into this nice sort of pattern, quite delineated pattern, where things either fit or don't fit, and if they don't fit, I don't include them, with this very direct, concrete sort of direction. There's something very appealing about it to me, and I should expect that it would be appealing to you. So please let me know in the comments. I would very much appreciate your perspective. I'll read all the comments, and I always do, and they always inform my views on the future. It's very important that you, as a member of the community, do this. And before I leave you, first of all, thank you for doing this. Before I leave you, just to remind you also, if you have bought the Ecstatic Soul and enjoyed it, hopefully enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a comment on Amazon, a rating and a comment, because it matters for the future success and influence of the book. The more people read it, the more influential it will be, and the more as a community we'll have an influence together. So it's important that you give a rating to my book, particularly as lately the people that have been reading my book are people who have been skeptical. I think they were expecting something much more accessible. Maybe they didn't get the marketing of it. So please help me sort that out. And yeah, if you liked it, please rate it. All right, goodbye guys. Consider subscribing as well.